So we're back again with another day, another night out there for you, my Texans fans and friends. It is a great day because we're Texans fans and we're doing it big. We have some good news, some working news, and some news that we just got to give a grade to. The Texans are in trade talks, trying to work through what we can do for this season. Let's talk about it. We'll talk about the game management, a little bit about linebacker health is this episode of Sports Social Live, and I'm loving what I do. I'm loving the Texans, and we're going to make this a thing. Let me turn down my phone and get ready. So let's get into it. With the Texans talk, there are trade deadline targets that we have out there for the Texans. I mean, we already picked up one good Texans trade, and we brought him off the street. We went and got Devin White. I like what Devin White brings to the team. It allows us to become more of a kind of a team that is able to run different formation, different linebacker sets. I'm excited for what he does. I'm excited for how we're able to adapt to different schemes. We get a little bigger. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. The Texans are able to go from that nickel back and kind of get a little bit bigger with Alziz out, Alshire out. Tua is back on the field, and it also allows us to run. We still have Jake Hansen. We still have Hewitt. We still have a good front seven. So I am happy with bringing Devin White off the streets. And let's be clear, Devin White was a baller. He still had 83 tackles, combined tackles in 2023. And he had his best year in 2020 where he just went absolutely crazy with 140 combined tackles, but he was balling. I loved the linebacker core of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during his time there. You cannot complain about what they were doing down there. You cannot complain about the success that Devin White had for the Buccaneers. So if you're a Texas fan, you could be happy. I'm not going to say he's going to come back in and be all world. Do we need him to be all world? We would love to, but it adds more linebacker depth, especially with our injuries that we have out there. You don't have Alshire. You probably won't get Christian back. So it just looks like this is a good depth solidifying pickup off the street. Hopefully, he comes in shape. Hopefully, he's able to produce for the team. I don't have high hopes, but I have realistic hopes that our linebacking core for the Texans will be strong. I'm excited for what he's able to do. Texans fans, subscribe, like, share. Sports fans, talk to me now. Talk to me now. So we have some questions for the team. Like I'm looking at what we can do. Some people in the comments and Texans Twitter talk, they want to get the offensive lineman shirt up. Everybody wants an offensive lineman shirt up. It's hard to say no to can we get an offensive lineman, but going into this week, I look at it and I'm hearing that they're not doing any type of rotation of the line. You still have Kenyon Green out there on the field. I just don't think that that's the best thing for us. But as the Texans tend to show, they go with what they know. Going with what they know is something that could work in your benefit. For me, I don't believe that you can just do that at all times. It just depends on your personnel. It does not look like our O linemen have that type of grit or stick to itness to be able just to stick them in there and just let them endure. I believe you do need to move that piece, move Kendrick Green out there and just make the shuffle of the line so you can be able to kind of work a little bit better, work a little bit harder. I really want to see what these guys can do if we do shuffle the line. I'm not mad at what Laramie Tunsil is doing out there. Laramie Tunsil is playing some good football. Um, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Yes, it could be better. I never thought he was a great pickup for the Texans. I think we overpaid, but you do need a good left tackle on your team when you have a good quarterback, and he is good. And that's what I can leave it at that. So as far as trade talks, I do want to go get that offensive guard from the Browns. That would be a great pickup for the team, but I don't see that happening. I don't see anything crazy, revolutionary happen. I don't see the Texans making a huge spill when it comes to the offensive lineman or offensive category. Maybe this is a way to get the lineman just going, but I don't see that happening from the Texans. They're going to go with what they know, unless it's the side of the ball that D'Amico knows and where he's confident. You see, that's where they make most of the big moves, in my opinion. So as far as trade talks, throw them down in the comments. Let me know what you see, what we can potentially do for the Texans in regards to trades. It's going to be a big thing. I would love an offensive lineman to come in at off the not off the streets, but just come over to the team and shore up the line and give us a little bit of grit. One of those big country dudes, that big country white dudes with the dip in the mouth, the camo, come in there, put their hand in the dirt, give you some Ben Jones action and get to it. And that's what we need. Some dude that's gonna go get dirty and get to it. I think our line is full of more finesse prima donna type dudes. We need some grit out there. So trade talks as far as that, I don't see it happening. But if it does, we will be good. I think we're going to be good either way. But we need that trade line, that offensive line to definitely step up. I mean, think about it. If the Texans offensive line does average, the Texans win both the Vikings game and the Packers. If the Texans offensive line plays average, they more than likely would be one score away from undefeated. I mean, in the Green Bay game, we're one score away. So think if the offensive line was just average and CJ was not pressured 49 and 50% of the time, the Texans offensive line average. That's all we're shooting for is average. Trent Dilfer was a game manager and made it to the Super Bowl. So if the offensive line can just manage a game, I think that we'll get to the Super Bowl off the backs of just solid play. I don't believe that Slowick is all the blame, but I do believe that if Slowick's able to tone down his schemes, we will be able to be successful, because our schemes are elite level schemes for a subpar line. And trading up to improve that line just might be the play, but I don't see that happening. So with my late night talks, I'm definitely focused on improving the Texans O line. I'm also focused on improving any type of depth that we can get. I'm okay in the receiving core. I'm okay in the running back room. I'm okay on the front defensive front seven. Tight ends are subpar, but I'm not mad at them. They just have to put it all together. And I think there's a little bit of over scheming impacting the Texans tight ends, because Schultz and Stover and Q, they're not they're not looking confident in the scheming. And Schultz is a pretty smart guy. Everybody talks highly of him, says he will be an offensive coordinator or a coach one day. So when they're confused on the field, you know that there's something going on and may possible over scheming. So we have to look at Bobby Slowick and crew to see what's going on. I definitely don't think it's an offensive line coach issue. You can't do much from the offensive line position when you're calling for plays that take 4 seconds to develop. Trade talk 101. That's what I'm thinking. So we're going to move on to a little bit of another talk that I kind of touched on before, and I'm gonna continue to touch on this, man. I am not happy with the game management, and I want to see how the game management goes into what we can do as far as going forward. But while we're talking about the game management, I also kind of want to talk about team management as a whole. How can we be, happy with that? So going back to before I go into game management, let me just backtrack a little bit. Draft capital for us is not the highest. So when we want to do a trade, I believe that our draft capital is slightly limited, but not impossible to work with when you're Casario. So trade talks might be limited in that regard because we might have to overpay a guy. But our draft capital, in my opinion, is not just a surplus. So we have to be kind of picky when it comes to that. And I believe this next draft class has some talent that can produce for the Texans, similar to how we've been drafting before with these DBs that we have coming in. That's just really good. Bullock, Lassiter, our draft capital will have to be good. And Toto was good too. So we're doing a phenomenal job of drafting good, solid young players to come on the field. We just need to shore up that O line we overpaid. And sure up the O line goes down into game management. The game management for the Texans has to improve, especially going down this season. When you're tested like the Texans are tested, uh, you see D'Amico saying that in multiple interviews, uh, and multiple times that he's talked, they are being tested as some adversity. Every team goes through it. But all that said, when you manage the game effectively, you lead the strategy, the upper level, you're going to do better at the lower level. I believe that those pivotal, crucial moments in game management have to be looked into. I don't know if the Texans need a data person, a big data person to come in and just crunch the scenario based numbers, or who it even is, a quality assurance person on the field. I probably need to look into that a little bit more. But if the Texans invested into a data person, I think that they need to get that person into the box and assist D'Amico. I'd rather them invest in a scenario where they have a solid data analytics person than just winging it. So I see they have a guy, Jeremy Stable. Yeah, Jeremy, passionate about football analytics and deep understanding of data-driven decision making and its impact on team performance. So it looks like this guy, Jeremy Stable, is the football data analyst for the Houston Texans. So, hey, Jeremy, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to pick up your game, brother. You need to pick up your game, and hopefully they listen to you. Jeremy Stabile, you got to do a little bit better out there, buddy, because we are not doing well in game time decisions. So I don't know if they're listening to you, but Jeremy, let's do better. You got to do better. That game management for D'Amico and Bobby are not it's not good. It's not going well, and it's definitely having an impact on the lower level. I'll say it's a C minus right now. My grade for that game for game management is C minus to D plus, only because we've been able to out grit people from Joe Mixon. CJ's been able to play at a higher level, and then you have the front seven on the defense been able to gather their teams, but that's all off of kind of grit, and tenacity, and athleticism. Game management has to improve at the top level. And as part of the game management is resource management, right? So we're looking at the resource management of the team. You got to take into account our per player personnel, and our player personnel on the offensive side of the ball in the athletic positions is solid. Even when we went through our drought, a running back drought, while Mixon was out due to that dirty hip drop tackle, we still were able to manage at running back, although not very well. They were solid enough. If we had an offensive line unit that was able to pick up the pace and be average at best, the Texans would be in a 10 times of a better place than they are now. So it makes you wonder, how does it feel for the team when they're being impacted by these game time and team management decisions? So game management, team management is always going to be a question for me as I go forward for the Texans. A grade of I'm going to go with the lower, a D plus, because we are consistently missing in critical game management plays. Additionally, the decision making on personnel on the field at times is baffling as well. You saw it in the Vikings game. You saw it against the Packers. In some of the sets, you have to question, why do you have some of these people on the field? I look at every team decision made, And I see that we are having a hard time getting the right people on the field, getting the playmakers on the field, and it's weird, man. It's like, why would you have this person? Why would you run this set in this area of the field? So the Texans, you gotta do more. Give me more, man. Give me more. Bobby, you gotta do more. D'Amico, you have to do more. Or whoever is making these decisions. I think Mr. Joshua Jeremy Stabile, you have to do more as well. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Hopefully you do better. But foot analytics might be on your side, but the game field needs to be on your side as well. So tell me what you give on the Texans game management. What score would you give the Texans as far as game management is concerned? This is Sports Social Live. We're doing it live. I'm just talking to the people, talking to the fans. It's a late night vibe, and I love it. I love the Texans. So, game management. We talk trade talks. We also are going to get into something with the trade of Devin White, the Texans linebacker health. I'm excited that the Texans are focusing on increasing the depth at linebacker position. The linebacker position for this Texans team is very critical because for most of the season, they were running two starting linebackers the entirety of the game, which was great when Toa and Ashair were healthy. But now we are in a point to where Toa is coming back from concussion protocol and Ashair is still out. So that means the rotation for the team has to be solid, especially when you're not getting Harris back. Christian Harris, he is done. I don't know what that calf muscle must have been separated from the bone. So he might be boneless out there, wingless. Harris is not healthy. So what can what can D'Amico do to kind of improve that front seven? And he's showing you that, hey, man, I'm going to go get ballers, even if it's a slight tad bit older. I think he's only like 27, 26. So I'm not mad at Devin White for coming in, for them going to get Devin White to shore up the Texans off to defensive line and front seven. You think about it. Buddy comes in, he's healthy, he's able to play at a high level, a resurgence. You can't be mad at that, man. You can't be mad. He's 26 years old, and Texans fans are talking about him like he's 42. He gets back in shape. The Texans are going to have a solid linebacker to pull from, even if he does not get off the sideline. So the linebacker health of the Texans is at this point where we have to make a decision how we're going to play the game. Are we going to continue to run with Petrie playing that nickel back, or we go and get Devin White off the sideline and ball out with a lot of linebackers on the field? And I think that's what we're going to do in this critical point of the season. We have some games, some back-to-back games. So you need the depth at linebacker because you're going to get banged up. You're playing against a solid New York, New Jersey Jets team that's trying to figure their way out. So the Texans are the team that they're going to try to figure it out on. I'm rest assured that the Texans are going to be the team that they try to ball out on. And will we let them do that? Will we let them do that? I'm interested to see what's going to happen going down the line. So we coming into this Texans versus Colts game. It's going to be a crazy game, in my opinion. I'm excited to see what's going to happen, but I'm excited to see these linebackers ball out and play. I believe we're going to have a couple of picks, some more picks from our linebackers, just like we had last week with Hewitt. A nice return, but we did not capitalize off that. That pissed me off. Let's get it. So we have a game on October 28th, and we backdoor October 27th, excuse me, and we backdoor with a Thursday night game against the Jets. And it's gonna be a hard game for the Texans, regardless of what anybody says. It's gonna be difficult. But the linebacker health will be something to look for. Again, I'm Sports Social Live, Lance Hayes. You can follow us on Twitter at Sports Social TV. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button, show me some love, and let's just talk Texans. Let's talk it. Let's do it. I'm excited for what we have going on as a team. I'm excited for what we have going on as fans as well. Although this is a shout out, I would like some of the fans to chill out. Chill out. Like, act like you've been there before. Love it. But people on Twitter go stupid, stupid when it comes to the Texans and slight adversity. Speaking of slight adversity and giving the game management talk, how can the Texans get over this second half hump as far as going into the second half, coming out dead? What can they do to improve that? That we continuously kind of just have a problem scoring in the second half. Not kind of, it is a problem. I think that the Texans second half team, as far as game management, we got to come out with some tempo or something to get those big boys moving. And do you really blame Bobby? Can't get you up and playing at a higher tempo. You got to want it for yourself. So I think there's something with the game management. Maybe we got to come out, maybe not just maybe come out running short 90s game with the receivers. Quick passes, get it going, get some confidence into their linemen. I feel like our linemen are those people that you have like, you're doing great. You're doing a good job, buddy. Keep it up, buddy. We don't have those guys that don't seem like they're self-starters. So hopefully they can figure it out. But game management wise, we have to do better. Um, we have to do better, man. Maybe it's just defense is figuring us out coming out in the second half. I mean, Bobby Slowick's offense is pretty. You can kind of identify what's going to happen. He's going to try. He's going to run, pass, man. Put us in long, third and long, and pass. And then he's going to try a sideways pass, screen, multi-level screenplay. He's going to try to do things like that. So, I mean, you can say what he needs, what they need to do. I mean, game management as well. Bobby Slowick has to come out and adjust at halftime. You can't come out doing the same run, pass, sideways pass, pulling guard, pulling tackle uniquely. He might have to just get basic. And I've been saying, stay to the basics, man. Stay to the basics. So, as a Texas fan, what do you feel like the Texans can do to come out with better game management in the first and second half in all three phases of football? I'm okay with what's going on for the defensive and special team side, but I do have concerns about the offensive side. And can we pick up the tempo there? I mean, he might just be too conservative in the calling on the offensive side, but I don't think it's conservative. People say he's like run, pass, and conservative. I don't believe that it's conservative offensive play calling. I believe that it's too elaborate for what personnel we have on our team. So can we improve that? Can we increase the urgency for the team instead of coming out and be like, we're going to drive and sustain a drive for 90 minutes or whatever, for 60 minutes? Can we just go out there and say, hey, let's get on their heads? Can we get on their heads right out the gate? You don't have to be conservative there. I don't believe Bobby's trying to be intentionally be conservative, but think his play callings are so elaborate that it looks conservative when we get into the third and long situations. So, what are we gonna do with the game management, and how can D'Amico come back? D'Amico, as far as team management, this is the pivotal time in leadership where you have to make a decision to, hey, I'm going to either step on the team, press the gas, and lay into my guys, or am I going to, you know, make this make something of it, brush it off, and be like, hey, we'll be okay. Teams matter, sports, love. Nah, is that something that you do? So you base it off your personnel, and you have to make it genuine. So maybe he behind the scenes, D'Amico is kind of on people's heads when the lights are off. He's on people's heads. You see in his talk, if you kind of read through it, it seems like he has a way. Earlier in the week, he was more aggressive in his speech, and now he's kind of toned down and become more political. But I believe it's in there. The fire's in there, and we shall see what D'Amico wants to do as he comes out. I think he has control of a team. I hate when people say, "Oh, he doesn't have control as a leader." I think he has control. There's no question that D'Amico is. in control of the team. He's just trying to figure it out. Sometimes the battle rhythm of the season and the personnel at the time, they have a lot going on. You just can't get it right. So they're just going to have to make those team management and game management decisions to improve the team. I give him a lot of responsibility though, because as a leader, you have to take that responsibility. But I don't want to hear, "Oh, that's on me. We have to make a better call." I want to hear, "Hey, my guys, everyone has to do better. Put some responsibility on every link in the chain. Hey, our offensive line has to do better." He said that, but I want to see him do it. I want to see somebody get benched and show these guys, just because you're out here, you're getting paid. You're a $61 million per year offensive line, mostly heavily weighted on Laramie Tunsil. But hey, man, you're a heavily paid offensive line. Let's play like it. Let's get to the Super Bowl, because that's what I want to be in February in New Orleans. I want to hit bourbon. I want to like the Sugar Bowl. I love going out to the Sugar Bowl. Let's go out there and have a game in New Orleans if we can make it to the Super Bowl. Right now we can't do it. Definitely going to be tough to compete with Kansas City. They have D Hop now. I'm still a fan. I don't care about you if you're not, but definitely going to be difficult for the Texans going forward. And seeing what we have to do. Let me fix this camera a little bit, turn it this way. But what are the Texans going to do as far as team management and game management? And now we're talking about the linebacker health. And linebacker health is great. We talked about that a little bit more. I'm okay with what the linebackers are doing and what they were able to bring in. I like what's going on with the linebacker health. I'm happy about that. So, what can the Texans do in your eyes to improve? That's a question that everybody's asking. I'm sure they're asking themselves. Oh, are you going to put a little responsibility on Tank Dell? Heck yeah. Are you going to put some responsibility on the offensive lineman? Heck yeah. And I also put responsibility on the head coaching decisions and game management decisions. I've seen people talk about Tank Dell not living up to the hype. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I think that Tank Dell is, hey, he's doing what he's supposed to do. So let Tank Dell live, people. Let Tank Dell live. I don't care. I want the team to. I think the receiving core is doing well. They just can't get the ball off, and it's because of the offensive line. So put some responsibility and ownership at every phase that needs to improve, and let's get it. But also give kudos where you can. As far as giving a grade to our team, I'm giving that front seven a solid B. You can't be mad at the front seven, solid B. Offensive line, F plus, just because I want to give them motivation and they need a cookie. F plus. QB play, B, B minus. Just got to figure it out a little bit more. Running back play, got to give an A. Got to give an A to Joe Mixon and the crew because they held it down while he's out. Receiving play, we had a couple of drop balls. I'm going to give it a solid B. Going over to the offensive line, the defensive line pressures, and now the pressures are turning to sack. I'm gonna give a B, solid B. Going over to our linebacker core, given the injuries that we've had, the tackle, I think they've been playing great. I'll give them a B plus for a linebacking core, and I think the grades are averaging out that they are a B plus linebacking core on Pro Football Focus. DBs, solid C plus if you're being generous. Give them a B minus just because they have to shuffle and mix. Jimmy Ward being out kind of impacts the team. I don't feel like he's going to make much of an impact down the line. His groin has been hurt consistently since he's been at the Texans, and I feel like that's going to be a continuing issue going down the line. But I think Stingley and the young crew have been playing really well for what they've been given, and Petrie's been doing well at the nickelback position. So I'll say that's C plus, B minus, given the atmosphere, and that's maybe a generous C minus. It might be just more realistic grade for the Texans team, Texans defensive backs. But being that I am a member of Fun, I love to do things, and this is Sports Social Live. I'm your number one global Texans fan, giving you Texans content from all over the world, the farthest parts of the world. You'll get this Texans content. The betting odds for the Texans versus The man, I slipped up. Texans versus the Colts. The Texans -6. The over and under is 46.5. What say you? Because I'm thinking it's gonna be tough here, but I'm gonna say the Colts will make it a closer game. I'll take the Colts +6 here. I think the Colts make it a tough game. The Texans come away with a field goal victory. I want more, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna go with the Colts +6. I'll take that all day. Additionally, if it goes to +6.5, if it goes to +6.5 or +7, that's a good bet with the Colts. Just realistic, man. Can't be too unrealistic. The Colts are going to be come out here and give it everything they got against the Texans, and I can see them having a decent game and bringing things together. It's a solidly coached team as well. So how am I going to hate on the Colts, especially if you have the history we have of just laying eggs against the Colts? If you remember this pose, Ty, you know that the Texans typically get done dirty against the Colts, even when we have high hopes. So every time I go against the Colts, I'm always gonna be skeptical. Hopefully, we could change that. The over and under at 46.5. I'm honestly, the way our offensive line is playing, I'm thinking we're gonna go with another under as well. I just don't see the Texans offensive line producing as much as we thought they can. The Colts have some injuries, but I just don't see the Texas offensive line truly snapping back. And I just have to see it. So I'm going to go with the under and the Colts +6. Not saying the Colts are going to win, but I am saying the Colts are going to keep it close and make it a challenging time for our Texans. I'm Lance Hayes, Sports Social Live at Sports Social TV on Twitter. Subscribe, like, share, follow. I am the #1 global Texans fan. Salute.